At night, the spacious living room glowed under bright lights as two people sat across from each other, a divorce agreement resting between them. Christian Shaw, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit, exuded an air of cold detachment. His sharp features remained unreadable, his presence commanding and intimidating. His piercing gaze settled on the silent woman opposite him, his eyes inscrutable. "We'll divorce on Monday," he declared, his voice firm and emotionless. "Aside from the compensation in the agreement, you may request anything else you need." "Why so sudden?" Freya Briggs asked, her voice quieter than usual. Christian's answer was blunt. "Ashley is back." Freya knew exactly who Ashley was. After a brief pause, she replied, "Okay." Christian hesitated, caught off guard by her immediate acceptance. Freya opened the divorce papers, her thoughts drifting to the past. 2 years ago, they had met at a nightclub. She had been weighed down by worries. He had been nursing a broken heart. A few drinks later, they found solace in each other's company, talking late into the night. There had been no impulsive one-night stand, just a quiet parting afterward. 3 days later, he had returned with his assistant to propose marriage, and she had agreed. After getting married, he had treated her well, tending to her needs, drying her hair with gentle hands, and solving her problems before she even voiced them. Their relationship had been perfect until 6 months ago, when a single phone call changed everything. Overnight, he grew distant, his warmth replaced by icy indifference. That was when she learned the truth. Christian had married her because she bore a faint resemblance to his lost love, Ashley Bradley. The memory made Freya press her lips together before she asked lightly, "You said I could ask for compensation, right?" "Yes," Christian replied flatly. "Anything I want?" She lifted her gaze to him, her delicate face devoid of its usual brightness. For a fleeting moment, guilt flickered in his chest. Yes, he had already resolved to grant her reasonable demands. After all, she had been good to him all the time. Freya's voice was steady. "Then I want the most expensive car in your garage." "Fine," Christian agreed. "A villa in the suburbs," she added. "Done," he said. Freya smiled. "And a share of the money you've earned in the last 2 years." For the first time, Christian's composure cracked. His eyes narrowed slightly, as if questioning whether he'd heard correctly. "What did you say?" Freya, unfazed, repeated her demand. "Our earnings during the marriage count as marital property, don't they? Based on my calculations, excluding investments, your salary and dividends over the last 2 years amount to several billion. I don't want much, just 40%. A heavy silence settled between them. Then, she added, as if casually mentioning the weather, "Of course, you're welcome to take 40% of my income too." Christian's patience finally snapped. "Freya," his voice carried an edge of disbelief. Had he really felt guilty earlier? How had he never noticed her greed? Freya met his gaze evenly. "Is that not acceptable?" "Absolutely not." Christian dismissed the idea instantly. "Then forget it." Freya set down her pen. "Next time I see your family, I'll bring up your emotional infidelity. I'm sure they'll take my side." Christian's expression darkened, his stare turning glacial. He hadn't anticipated this side of her, realizing now that her past docility had been an act. "Do you really want to negotiate with me like this?" he demanded. "Yes." Freya held his gaze without flinching. She knew he despised threats, but she despised infidelity more. "Fine." Christian's eyes turned stormy, his voice glacial. "You'll get what you want, but if the divorce hits complications, you'll regret it." Freya leaned back in her chair, her tone razor sharp. "Christian Shaw, is that a threat?" This version of her was foreign to Christian. For 2 years, she'd been the picture of compliance, gentle, accommodating, never defiant. Now, she met his anger with unshakable calm. "No." Already calculating countermeasures, he bit out, "You'll have the assets. We divorce on Monday." Freya's lashes lowered briefly before she added, "One more condition." "Speak." His patience frayed. "Take me shopping tomorrow." She ignored the frost radiating from him. "Afterward, we'll tell your family together that I ended things." "Deal," Christian conceded. With that, he strode toward the door, unable to stomach another second in her presence. Earlier, he'd even considered granting her a grace period to process the divorce. How laughable. She couldn't wait to carve up his fortune and be rid of him. Had Freya been able to read his thoughts, she might have laughed and said, "That little money? Do you really think I care?" Christian reached the door and halted. Without turning around, he said, "I won't be back tonight. I'll pick you up at 9 tomorrow morning. Make a list of the stores you want to visit." Freya's voice followed him, calm but laced with something sharp. "Are you going to see Ashley Bradley?" Christian's jaw tightened. "That's none of your business." Freya let out a quiet breath, as if she had already expected that answer. "I don't tolerate cheating," she said plainly. "So before the divorce is finalized, you'd better not end up in bed with her." Christian whirled back, looming over her. Freya didn't blink. "What? Can't endure 2 more days?" "I understand your bitterness," he said, eerily composed, "but lashing out won't help. This is a divorce, not war." Freya blinked at him. For a moment, she was at a loss for words. This man was truly shameless. Christian didn't wait for a response. "Good night." And with that, he turned and left. The door clicked shut behind him. Freya's gaze drifted down to the divorce papers still lying on the table. She stood there for a long time, unmoving. To say she felt nothing would have been a lie. She wasn't made of stone. The moment she discovered she was nothing more than a stand-in, the hurt had settled deep in her bones. Christian had been her first love. In 24 years, no one else had breached her defenses. Before the betrayal, he'd been perfection itself, attentive, steady, silencing every doubt with his quiet devotion. So when she learned of Ashley, she'd offered to leave, to free him, but he'd refused. The reason behind Christian's refusal was simple. Before Ashley returned, he needed someone to manage his elders at home, and Freya, adored by his parents and grandpa, was the obvious choice. But sometimes, Freya couldn't help but wonder, did he really think she was a fool? Otherwise, why would he assume she'd play along in hiding his affair? Now, with his sudden demand for divorce, frustration simmered inside her. Even after 6 months of stealing herself, a stubborn flicker of emotion remained. She let out a slow breath, crossed to the sofa, and grabbed her phone. She tapped the contact labeled Fred untouched for 2 years and typed, check if Shaw Group's facing any issues. And find out if Christian's terminally ill. Fred's replies exploded onto the screen instantly. Holy Freya, never thought I'd hear from you again. 2 years, Freya. 2. Where've you been? She didn't bother explaining. Mood sour, she fired back a single word, check. Fred caved. On it. She tossed the phone aside and waited. If Christian was divorcing her to spare her some tragedy, she'd forgive him, maybe even help. But if he was just an unfaithful jerk, she'd drop him without a second thought. 30 minutes later, her phone buzzed with Fred's verdict. 0 troubles. No illness, no crisis. Why the hell are you asking? Christian's loaded, hot, and sharp. You two are a match. Don't you like pretty boys? Give it a shot. She ignored the jab and shot back. You are so blind. Then she silenced her phone. No external factors meant only one thing. Christian was pure scum. Fred stared at his screen, baffled. Did Freya wake up in a mood today? Freya's gaze landed on the divorce papers. After a pause, she snatched a pen, scrawled her name, and shoved them into a drawer. Then she headed for the shower. When she emerged, her phone was a disaster. Dozens of unread messages and 32 missed calls. No guessing needed. Frederick Price, aka Fred, had clearly blabbed about her resurrection to the entire world. Towel draped over her damp hair, she reached for her phone only for it to ring again. The caller ID flashed. It was her father. Her chest tightened. 2 years of silence, and now he called? She'd left Alarith City due to a situation involving her mother, and neither had she reached out to her father nor had he contacted her until now. After a pause, she answered coolly. Hello. Silence. Freya, never one for patience, was about to hang up when Hugh Briggs' raspy voice cut through. Mina. That name clawed at buried memories. What do you want? She asked flatly. Hugh hesitated, guilt threading his words. Frederick told me you reached out. Said you were digging into Christian. Need help? No. Freya had no interest in his involvement. A beat passed before Hugh ventured. What's your relationship with him? A couple. She let the word hang. About to divorce. Hugh's breath hitched. She was married? You, he started. If that's all, I'm done. Freya didn't want to waste any more breath on him. Wait, he rushed. She held her tongue. The line crackled with tension. Finally, he muttered, when are you coming back? That woman's gone. Then, hastily, he added, your mom's belongings are untouched. Her fingers tightened around the phone. For a flicker, emotion crossed her face then vanished. Noted. She hung up before he could protest. Hugh stared at the dead line, frustration curdling in his chest. He hadn't even asked about her marriage. Freya didn't spare him another thought. She flicked her phone to airplane mode, towel-dried her hair, and collapsed into bed. The night passed without dreams. By 8 the next morning, she was up, dressed and breakfasted. Today, she'd taken care with her makeup. Her skin glowed, her lips, naturally full, needed no enhancement. But her eyes, sharp, luminous, were the real weapon. Her smile was bright, bringing a warmth that could instantly lift anyone's spirits. When Christian arrived, she was already waiting on the sofa. Her shoulder-length hair was pinned back, bangs swept up under a black beret. At the sight of him, she rose gracefully, reaching for a coat and draping it over her shoulder. Let's go. She grabbed her purse, her tone composed and unbothered. Christian didn't move. His tailored suit emphasized his height as he said, not today. Freya stilled. I have other commitments. His voice was indifferent. His gaze lingered too long on her face. Tomorrow. Christian Shaw. Her tone was a warning. He disliked it instantly. I put on makeup today, she said, her voice deceptively calm but carrying an unmistakable edge. If you want our divorce to go smoothly on Monday, push aside whatever plans you have. I don't deal with people who break their promises. Christian's eyes narrowed. After a silent calculation, he stepped out to make a call. Fragments floated back. Ashley, hospital, follow-up. Freya's grip on her purse turned white-knuckled. Inside, she seethed. Even now, Ashley occupied his thoughts completely. Christian missed Freya's fury. All he saw was how she shone today, vibrant, untamed. Nothing like the subdued woman he knew. After hanging up, he inquired where she wanted to shop. Freya mentioned the largest luxury mall in town. This wasn't shopping. This was a spree. By 10 a.m., the 4 bodyguards trailed behind her like pack mules, arms stacked with watches, jewels, designer bags. Christian's phone chimed nonstop with alerts. As Freya strode into yet another jewelry boutique, his jaw hardened. This wasn't retail therapy. She was intentionally trying to irritate him.